hello to all my beautiful heart healers and all my amazing listeners, and welcome to my new listeners. So thankful to have all of you guys. This is Harayeth, and I hope you have had a great week. I hope you had a good holiday weekend. It was a little cool for us. I went to my in-laws. We were going to have a pool party, and it turned into a bonfire party instead because it was too cold for the pool. But that was good too. I love a good chance for a bonfire, so I wasn't complaining a bit. But yeah, it was pretty nice. But it's kind of cloudy right now. I was thinking it's funny because I've noticed usually when I do my podcast, it's like sunny, and I'm always talking about, the sunshine and the birds and all that. And I'm like, dang, today is dreary. It's like cloudy and ugh, but that's okay. That's okay. Because I have stuff that I want to talk about. So this episode is going to be geared mostly for my amazing empaths. And of course, like I've said before, any of you that, want to learn or want to listen a little more, or to learn a little more about people that are empaths, or if you love an empath and don't know what to do with him/her, you're welcome to come along for the ride. What I really want to do today is just kind of reiterate some things that we've talked about in the past, and just to remind you that you're not weird or different. And yes, you'll hear that a lot in my podcast, but I also know I have some new listeners that might not have heard some of these things, and even if they have, I've kind of sprinkled them throughout different podcasts, so this would be a good catch-you-up podcast. It'd be a good catch-up podcast. Not without the mustard. Yes, I made a pun. Sorry, I know that was a bad one. But anyways, what I want to start out with, though, is kind of a pep talk. Because, my little empaths out there, y'all are just thebomb.com. I mean, you are amazing. And never forget how special that you are. And I know a lot of you are probably still even discovering things about yourself. And, some of the ways that you can tell, if you've always wondered if you're empathic or not, I would say the key sign is that you find people will just randomly come up and talk to you and tell you their whole story, their life story, what happened to their dog, what happened to their grandma, what they're going through. And, all you did was maybe stand there or smile and say hello. And what you need to understand is that you draw people, especially people that are hurting. You have that quality in you that is like a magnet. And in this day and age, it's really hard to find people who care enough to want to listen to others and their problems and their issues. And we all just need, love and respect, and unfortunately, something that's so simple to give, or that should be simple to give, is hard to find. And as empaths, we have that quality about us without trying. It's naturally there. And so when people are around you and they start opening up and talking to you, and you see that it happens a lot. I remember one time I was in a convenience store with somebody, and I was standing in line, and this person just, I think I made a comment like, wow, this is a long line, or something simple like that. And the person in front of me commented back, and before you know it, we were just talking. And she started telling me all this stuff that was going on with her. And so when we got out and got back outside, the person I was with, they said, "Did you know that person?" I said, "No, I've never met him before in my life." And they said, "Well, it sure seemed like you did." But honestly, something like that is typical. And I'm going to tell you right now, too, y'all that have been listening to my podcast, the allergies have hit me hard this year. But they will not win. They will not be triumphant. So if you hear me sniffle or cough or whatever, or if I sound like I'm going to lose my voice, just bear with me. So I was like, no, you will not win. I will conquer you. Go home and take some allergy medicine and conk out. But anyway, so yes, that is a super duper huge sign. And the next one that generally follows along with that is that these people will say, after they've gotten through venting to you, talking to you, they will say, thank you for listening. I feel better. You made me feel better. And it's so wonderful when people tell you that, because you know that you've made a true difference. But what's happened is that you have very likely absorbed all those negative things right off of them. And yeah, you made them feel better because you took it away from them. Not only did you help them, by just being a listening ear, but in many cases, you can actually absorb those feelings. And so that person walks away feeling lighter hearted, but you are left feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And it's very important for an empath to learn and distinguish what are your feelings and what someone else's feelings are that you've absorbed. Because you can just be bopping along and having this super great day, and then you run into a situation like that, and you find that you feel like this person's burdens have become your own. And in a way, that's because they kind of have, as far as you've absorbed that negativity and those feelings, those emotions. So when you do that, it's very important to remember to cleanse, which we talked about that in an earlier episode. And it's important to stay shielded. And however you do it, whatever works best for you, there's many different ways to do it. And it just depends on your individuality. It depends on what works for you. It may depend on your journey, your religion, wherever you're at in life. Just whatever kind of things speak to you and help you. But whatever works for you, just continue doing it. And I discussed with you my method of doing it, which is basically I visualize like each of the elements layering one over the other. And I start with spirit, and then I end with love. And if you want to go back and listen to that in its entirety, I think that is episode maybe 2. Pretty sure it's 2. But I go into a lot of detail in that. But yeah, it's very important to remember to stay shielded and to do some cleansing. Those of you that use sage and things like that, that's always a good thing too. When you get home or whatever, if it makes you feel good, makes you feel better, light you some sage, shake it around. The Native Americans used it for a reason. It is a very cleansing thing, and I like the smell of it. Some people don't, but I do. I think it smells cool. So another way that you can tell that you're empathic is you have probably been told many, many, many times that you are just too sensitive, that you wear your heart on your sleeve. That was my grandmother's favorite thing to say about me, and it stuck with me. And it was, to her, it was a bad thing. In retrospect, I think I look back and she probably just worried about me. But when I was a kid growing up, it didn't feel like she was just worried about me. It just felt like she was being mean when she said that. And she wasn't the only one that said it. I've had a lot of people tell me that. But as I have grown into myself more and learned more about who I am and kind of finding my place, my little niche in this world that we find ourselves in, then I've come to look at that as a good thing. And I want you to look at it that way as well. Because, and yes, there are issues, there are problems that come along with that. I know it. You're probably going to be in for a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of maybe fights with loved ones like your husbands or your wives or girlfriends, boyfriends, people that love you but don't get it, and when they say things that, they don't think anything about, and it hurts your feelings, And I would like to say that if someone really loves you, that they will understand that about you. But the fact of the matter is it's just a hard thing for people to get if they're not that way. And you can't hold that against them. It doesn't make your pain go away any better. It doesn't make you feel any better to know that someone you love truly doesn't get you. But you have to realize for them, it's just a natural thing. And I've been called oversensitive and been told I need to get a thick skin. And you know what? I don't want a thick skin. I don't want to be someone who doesn't feel. This world is full of people that don't really seem to care that much. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be a cookie cutter. I am a person who feels and loves and wants to help, and I know you are too, and that's a good thing. Don't ever let anyone make you feel ashamed or sad or like you're less than you are just because they're not like that, just because they don't understand what it's like to be that kind of person, just because they don't understand that when someone criticizes you, it hurts. Especially someone you love, especially someone you are close to or someone you have a close relationship with. Of course it's going to hurt. That's great that there are people out there who can flip the switch and not be bothered by things or emotionally detach or, not let certain things bother them. I mean, good for them. There's good reasons for that as well. But if you are not that kind of person, don't ever let anyone make you feel less than what you are. You are a light, okay? You are a beautiful, shining light. If you could picture a candle, and emanating from that candle is like a soft, pink, misty glow that I would envision love looking like. If you could see what love looked like, that's how I envision it. When I do my shielding and stuff, that's how I envision it. But if you could picture that, that's what you are to the world, okay? That's what you are. And people who are hurting, all kinds of people who are hurting are drawn to that. And if there's something wrong with being a person like that draws others to them that are hurting and needing someone to listen to, well then, so what? But the world needs more people like that. And honestly, if everybody treated each other like that, yes, I know that would be a utopian dream. It would be perfection, and we don't live in a world like that. But if we did, if everybody loved like that, we would not have a single problem. People either have forgotten how to love, or they've lost their empathy, they've lost that. I don't know. I can't explain why, other than to say that it's a gifting just like anyone else, just like anyone who can, do any other kind of gift, like a psychic gifting or people who are gifted with music or writing or any of the clairvoyant gifts, anything like that. Being empathic is a gift too, and sometimes it can feel like a curse because, if you've been like me, I've been through some relationships, and I know that my empathicness has created a rift sometimes. And I've been guilty of in the past going back and kicking myself and like, man, Harayeth, if you weren't like that, if you didn't do this, if you didn't do that. And, I've had to get on to myself. And I'm like, no, stop it right there. Because I am who I am, and they are who they are. And if that person doesn't if they didn't understand you and they didn't love you enough to want to try and understand, then I'm just going to say maybe it wasn't meant to be after all. And hopefully you have found someone that does either understand or at least try to understand. So I realize I'm kind of bearing part of my heart with you here too, some of the things that I've dealt with in my own life. But another thing that you may notice is that you are very attuned to nature and animals. You may see that you feel so energized when you get out in nature, when you get away from all the electronics and the busyness and that kind of thing, that literally being out in nature is a fresh breath for you. It re-energizes you, it invigorates you, it just makes you take that deep breath, okay, I can carry on now. I've got my second wind. But yeah, we empaths are very much in tune with nature. And so you find yourself constantly drawn, drawn to the mountains, drawn to the forest, drawn to the lake, whatever elements, whatever things speak to you. But yeah, being drawn to nature and wanting to get out in there, or if you're upset and you feel that's cleansing for you, yeah, that's another very key thing that goes along with being an empath. Another thing is a extreme kindness and draw for animals, and likewise animals are drawn to you too. I've been around, which I love dogs, I love cats, I love all kinds of animals. I'm probably more a cat person. I'm a dog person too, but I've noticed that with cats, I've been around them where they'd be wild or semi-wild, and they're like, oh, you can't catch that cat or whatever, and I stoop down and talk to it and motion for it to come to me, and I'm not kidding, I can pick that cat up and love on it. So I love animals, I always have. I think animals are better than most people that I know, and if you're an empath, you probably feel that same way. But any draw like that, more so even than beyond just liking animals, but where you feel like you can almost communicate with them, or you understand how they're feeling, you feel that link to them. That's another sign. And I would remind you also that it's very easy for empaths to wind up in toxic relationships, and which I spoke in my last episode about narcissism. That's something that you really want to watch out for. But we are very gentle-hearted, and it's easy for us to get involved in situations that we never intended to get involved in. It's hard for us sometimes to say no to people. We want so much. We want so much to be a help to them, and we give of ourselves so much that some of us can have a hard time saying no. And that is something that I used to have a really hard time with, and I finally got myself out of that, because it was creating issues in my personal life. And it was just I had done all my life. I'd always tried to be that good girl and do what everybody wanted me to do, and I was making everybody happy but me. And you can't do that. If you don't make yourself happy, other people can't do it. You have to do it on your own. And if you're constantly being imposed on, and people are just like, okay, well, so-and-so, they're such a sweet person. Let's ask them to do this. I know they won't say no. That's really what they're thinking. They're like, okay, they're not going to have the guts to tell me no. If you want to translate that in a way that might make it easier for you to say no next time, it's not just that they're thinking, oh, you're such a sweet person, you'd be perfect for this. It's they're thinking, they're not going to stand up to me and say no. So next time that you get roped into doing something or attempt to get roped into doing something you don't want to do, think about it that way. That person is trying to get you to do it because they think that you'll be a pushover and that you'll do it. And there comes a time when you have to stand up for yourself. And my little gentle empaths, you have to be tough sometimes. It's not easy, I know it's not, but you do. And you have to stand up for yourself and be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I have things I have to do. I don't care if you have to make something up. I'm not saying lie. I'm just saying, say, hey, I can't do it. I have things I have to do. Well, you do have things you have to do. You probably have dishes you have to wash. You have clothes you got to do. You have to, go sit and read and be happy or something. You got things to do. So there's nothing wrong with saying that you can't do that. So, yeah, we find ourselves in situations like that a lot. So, we covered stones earlier, the different stones that are helpful especially for empaths. And one of my favorites is tourmaline. Tourmaline is an amazing stone. Some others are rose quartz. Citrine is good. I love rose quartz because it is such a gentle and loving stone. I won't go into all of that here, but I covered that in episode 3 or 4, I think. I don't know, it was one of my earlier ones. But if you'd like to go back and listen to that, then, of course, you're more than welcome to. But I basically I want you to remember that being emotional isn't a bad thing. To some people it is. I've been called dramatic, and someone one time called me a drama queen. And I will say, of all the things that I've been called, and I've been called butthurt. That's another good one you'll hear people like to use a lot. But yeah, some of those can hurt. Because, when this person called me that, I was like, I don't ever think of myself that way. But because I took something to heart that someone said, and it literally upset me when they said it. And to them, they were just talking. They weren't trying to be mean or anything like that. But it kind of came out sounding like they were frustrated, and me being who I am, I internalized it, and I took that to heart. And yeah, we have a tendency, I guess, to sometimes things go further when it comes to emotions than what we mean for them to. And a little snowball can turn into a great big old snow boulder. It happens. But when people don't understand your feelings, they don't understand why you feel or say or think the way that you do, you just have to realize that you are coming from two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And just like it's hard for you to understand why people don't feel certain ways, likewise, those people can't understand why you take everything to heart, why you wear your heart on your sleeve, why you have to be hurt over something that was said. And it's because you're a sensitive soul. It's because you're a gentle-hearted, and those things hurt your feelings. And it doesn't mean that you are any less important or any less human or anything else. It happens. That's just part of it. And that was a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast, is I wanted people to understand that I kind of feel like I hesitate to use the term bullied, because bully, it has an intentional ring to it. I don't think people mean it that way. But I feel like a lot of empaths are made to feel like they are less than, when actually they're beautiful people, amazing people. I've known some wonderful empathic people, and I don't like to see anyone's feelings being trampled. I think maybe that's the best way to put it. And I feel like that happens a lot. I feel like we get trampled on by a lot of society just because they don't understand where we're coming from. Another thing I want to touch on too, I want to go back to a point that I was mentioning earlier about being intuitive. And you will find a lot of times there are other psychic giftings that go along with this. We have pretty good intuition. If you've ever met somebody and something about them just kind of is a little off, even though it's all there, the mask is basically in place. They're saying the right things, they're doing the right things, and everybody else around you can be like, this is a great person. Oh, look at them. Oh, look, they are just awesome. And you're back there thinking, there's something kind of fishy going on there. And you will probably find 9.9 times out of 10, when it all comes out in the water, in the dishwater, as the saying goes, that you were right about that person. People are very easily duped by right words and right actions. And I don't know if they just don't listen to their gut anymore. In a way, I think really that's like survival instincts, because back in the day, when you had caveman or whatever, people had to rely on their instincts, what they felt, or if they felt a situation could be dangerous or whatever, they had to rely on that. And in some ways I think it's really not quite that different. I think that we have those abilities, and for whatever reason other people, either they just don't have them, or maybe they just don't listen to them. I don't know. But that's something I've learned to do, is to pay attention to that intuition, because when I don't, I'm always sorry. And I've been around folks that everybody would just swear up and down that they were just a gift from the heavens, and turn out to be some of the worst people you could think of. So always pay attention to your intuition. If it tells you not to get on a plane, listen to that. Don't get on that plane. My mom saved her family by doing that one day. And her mom was met, which was my same grandmother that got on me for wearing my heart on my sleeve. But yeah, Mom was like, we don't need to get on that plane. She was young at the time. She was 17, I think. And I used to love hearing her and Granny talk about that story. But she had such a bad feeling about them getting on a certain plane, and so she ended up doing something that caused them to miss the plane. Pretty sure she did it on purpose. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that she did on purpose. But her mom was so mad at her. Oh, you made us miss the plane. You made us miss the plane. Well, come to find out, that plane that they would have been on crashed. And my mom's intuition was so strong on that. And if not for that, they would have died. So your intuition we have it for a reason. And we need to use it. And also, likewise, you will probably find that you have a lot of vivid dreams. You may get messages in dreams. You may be really good using oracle cards or tarot cards, things of that nature, very in tune to the spirit world. You may have the ability to hear loved ones that have passed on, or maybe even relay messages to others for them. So there are a whole lot of giftings that go along with being intuitive, and it's not something that, and I'm speaking actually right now in response to a sweet letter that I got from a lady, and if you're listening, it really touched my heart. I thank you for sending that to me. You don't know what a actual godsend that was to me, but that's not something that you want to be afraid of, or that you need to be afraid of. As always, you want to be careful. You want to be shielded and use your cleansing. Make sure you're in a positive space and get rid of the negative energy. But also pay attention to how you feel, and just know that you have that gifting. And so that it's probably not anything new. It's probably something that you've had, ever since you were a child. And it's not something that you need to be afraid of. It just means that you are extremely in tune with the spirit world. With your intuition is probably very keen. Well, I have actually gone a little over what I intended to. I usually keep them pretty short, guys. I'm sorry about that. But I really enjoy talking to y'all. So I hope that you enjoy this podcast, and thank you again to all of you who listen, and especially, and those of you that take the time to write and let me know how you're feeling, or if there's things that you want to hear covered, let me know. If you want to message me, I don't check my mail a lot, and I apologize for that, because I also I work and stuff too, and sometimes I just don't get to check it. But whenever I do, I will try and write you back as soon afterward as I can. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and remember that I love y'all. And remember also that you are amazing and wonderful, and that you are light bringers in this dark world. And don't let anyone take that from you. I don't care who they are. Don't let anyone take that away from you ever. You always remember that you are that love and that light. So, I love y'all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.